Hey guys, what is going on? It's Jay Campbell, the author of the definitive TRT manual and of course the founder of TRTrevolution.com and the TRT Revolution podcast. And I'm joined today in studio by my good friend, second time interviewee, Russ Scala. And Russ is an amazing dude. This guy is a pioneer in the things that he and I are involved in. You know, he owns the Scala Precision Health Institute in Florida. He also has a very big, widely recognized YouTube channel, Precision Health. And Russ is, like I said, again, a pioneer. He started off as an EMT, and then, has gotten off and branched off and works with a bunch of cardiac people, both surgeons and doctors. So Russ, man, how are you, brother? Welcome to the show.
Hey, Jay, how you doing today?
I'm awesome, man. I appreciate you coming on today. We're going to definitely jump into some stuff. I know, you've been on before and you talked a little bit about your background, but just for people who don't know you, didn't see the first show, just talk a little bit about your bio.
Yeah, before I went to graduate school, when I was a kid in my 20s, thinking I was bulletproof, I worked in the emergency room, became a paramedic, ended up getting attached to the SWAT team, trying to save lives and not realizing the collateral damage it was doing to my metabolism. So from there, I went on to become a triathlete. I switched my community, to a healthy community, and I ended up damaging my body even more racing. So I kind of immersed myself in the high stress environments. Then I went to graduate school, got my master's, and focused on what we're doing, the biochemical individuality of each person. And I focused on the aging workforce and designing new treatment protocols. So my evolution has always been in medicine for the last 40 years. I'm still fascinated with the metabolism as you are, as I was when I was a kid. Mm-hmm. And being with those different groups and being on the tip of the spear, you just became an early adapter, sort of like what you've done with the TRT Revolution.
How is the addiction treatment protocols that are currently, out there right now in medicine, like how is it changing using testosterone replacement therapy and nutrition?
Okay, cool. Well, you got to understand, Jay, and you'll get this real quick. The addiction market is no different than traditional medicine looking at TRT. Can we start there?
Absolutely.
Okay, cool. So now we've got an addiction epidemic. The first addiction program started in the 1840s. So traditional talk therapy, the addiction centers I traveled to and interviewed the owners of these addiction centers, they're just like business. They're in a competitive environment trying to come out with the next new protocol. They treat the head, they don't treat the metabolism. The heroin addicts and the alcoholics I work with one-on-one for the past 10 years need treatment protocols designed for their specific metabolism. Who's going to do that, right? So I have worked with my physicians with heroin addicts. I have worked with my physicians with alcoholics. And we looked at the body on a cellular level, Jay, and TRT was one of the puzzle pieces we needed to pull together. Forget about libido and muscle mass for a minute. I know that might be hard for you. Just kidding. No. Forget about libido and muscle mass, and think about testosterone impacting the brain, dopamine levels, and neurotransmitter levels. Think about testosterone dilating the arteries and veins by releasing nitric oxide. Think about testosterone elevating something called brain-derived neurotrophic factor, which is the miracle grow for the brain.
Right.
So when we want to grow new brain tissue, we give somebody testosterone along with IGF-1. We elevate brain-derived neurotrophic factor. That's the miracle grow. And then that's followed by vascular endothelial growth factor, or the veins and arteries to support that new brain tissue. Right. Now, I can tell you right now, nobody in the addiction market has pulled it together. We are about to move into an addiction center within a couple of weeks in Winter Park and getting this program patented. So it's blue water.
That's awesome.
Blue. Yeah.
So how is weight loss, body fat loss, weight loss, how is it tied to addictions?
Yeah, addictions. Once you're on an opiate and your intestinal tract is out of balance and you're mining nutrients from your own tissue, your HPA axis shuts down, and you pretty much go into when your thyroid isn't working and your hormones aren't working, whether you're a woman or a man, you start mining muscle mass and you go into like an accelerated sarcopenia state. And then you're like skinny fat. If we were to do an IDEXA scan, we would see the muscle mass starting to shrink. So and I know a lot of women that they like the heroin because they, believe it or not, they stay thin. but when you look at them, there's no muscle mass, you know? I mean, I don't say anything, you know, I'm like you. It's like, I see this shit in my head. I'm going, fuck me.
People are so fucking whacked out, man. The standards of society, it's just, you're right. I mean, you know, Hollywood reinforces the cultural thing with women, you know, they have to be thin. It's not about health. It's just being thin. You know, I mean, anybody who knows anything about Hollywood knows that almost every one of those models, literally their diet it's the cocaine diet. So when is, I want to ask you just a simple question that, when is the, you know, this heroin, you know, whatever the meds are, I lose track of them, you know, they fucking script them like candy and addict so many people. When is that ever necessary? Is it ever necessary? I mean, in extreme cases of pain, you know, initially, but then you hook these people on this shit after 2, 10, 12, 14 days, right? I mean, they're hooked on it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, you'll get this here. There's a gene called the warrior gene. It's the DRD4 gene.
Right.
You got it, I got it. That's why we're not going to be sitting in cubicles 24/7. If you have low circulating dopamine levels with the warrior gene, you are more susceptible to addictions, okay? You can't deal with the dead air. So the rock stars I got, the executives I got, when they're doing what they're doing, when you're selling a multi-million-dollar house, it's when you deal with the dead air, that's when you get into trouble. Right. So these guys start using opiates to shut down their brain. You know, they need, if you understand what heroin does to the brain, then you understand that these people just want to be able to shut their brain off and take a break. Or they were just taking the opiates. You know, I think certain pain medication is needed, but just like, you know, everybody's biochemically unique. You and I may be able to take opiates for a broken arm, and be fine. The other guy with the low circulating DRD4 gene, he may get addicted with the first prescription, see? Right. So, you know, we have to, you know, help these folks and make them more aware. There's also something called opiate-induced neuroplasticity. Right. From, you know, opiate-induced neuroplasticity means you hardwire new brain tissue. Right. That's it. That's part of the addiction, and nobody thinks about that. So telling somebody to just say no to drugs or thinking a treatment center is going to help them, you know, in 12 months, no way, dude.
Absolutely not. Yeah.
We got to turn them around physiologically with testosterone being part of that, the HPA axis like you and I talk about. That's all part of the healing process. Or when the addiction centers don't do this, they get repeat business. You know, and here's something you'll like, Jay. There's something called, new research is coming out all the time now that we can look inside the brain in real time with fMRIs. There's a study coming out called Mouse Park. Mouse Park was they put a mouse in a cage and they feed him heroin and water. Obviously, what's he going to go after? Heroin, 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 heroin. Then they did a study where they put the mouse inside a park with about 15 other mice, and he didn't go after the heroin. So they say it's your community that's tied into the addiction, which leads us to Dr. Sapolsky's work out of Stanford with psychoneuroimmunology. Basically, you hang out with assholes, bad people, you're going to do bad shit. When I was a paramedic attached to a SWAT team, hanging out with cops, bad community, bad shit. Right. I rotated over to the triathletes, good people, good shit. Right. You know, so the community has a lot to do with that. In the Vietnam War, they thought that every guy coming back was going to have a heroin addiction because of the amount of heroin being used in the years of the Vietnam War. Guess what? They were building heroin centers for the troops coming back. And when these guys got back, guess what? They didn't need it. So again, you see what I mean? And these studies are out there. So when I'm working and consulting with this addiction center, I've got to separate them from everybody else with the content that we develop. I got to write a TRT revolution for the addiction market and then license it. Yeah, I want to license it to other addiction centers.
Well, let's just move into the next point because we could go many different directions and we'll probably get there. But so I want you to talk a little bit about the gut-brain connection and how it relates to the opiate bowel. Yeah, just feel free to elaborate.
Okay, cool. Again, one area that the addiction market is not looking at is something called the opiate bowel. And I've worked with clients that were taking opiates, and I just put a shield up for them. A lot of my executives got into a bad spot. I actually went into addiction centers and looked at their treatment protocols with some of my clients, and what they were getting for 40 grand a month to blow your hair back was just talk therapy and some sushi. I mean, it's crazy. So the only thing with them, Jay, is they're so busy right now, they don't have to change anything. So the one place I have right now, is going to be on the tip of the spear. So the opiate bowel, when you take any opiate, it causes an imbalance in your intestinal tract. When your intestinal tract is imbalanced, you're not pulling any nutrients out of food. So think about it. You swallow all your protein, it's not being absorbed. You go to bed at night, level 4 REM sleep. If you are sleeping and your growth hormone is released, you're going to mine nutrients from your own tissue. So these opiate addicts, these heroin addicts, these alcoholics, continually have muscle wasting or sarcopenia. Well, and their testosterone levels are, I got to look at hundreds of blood work of these addicts.
50.
Yeah, 50, 30, testosterone's all under 100. Multiple metabolic markers are shut down. So the intestinal tract, the microbiome, in order to get an addict or anybody to resonate, we got to rebalance the gut.
Right.
Okay?
You know what? I want to talk to you about SSRIs because we talked about it a little last night, and I'll go down the darkest, deepest rabbit hole because I have family members that have been on these things, and they're fucked, Russ.
I know.
They do shit to their brains. It's not beneficial. I don't give a shit what study people show me. I go by my experience watching and observing people who have been on these things for a decade or more. We both know they're fucking poison, dude.
Right.
They're doing things, like you said, to, the enzymatic pathways, the dendritic pathways. There's stuff going on in the brain that is being permanently altered from using this shit. And so even if you say to me, you feel better, I have to have my Prozac or I have to have my Wellbutrin, you cannot prove to me that you are actually getting better. It's like you said, you're developing, everything that you feel is a chemical dependency of that shit. And as you also said, this is where people fuck up, and no doctor knows this except, people that work with you. Your gut biome has now been crushed and permanently altered from that fucking poison, that toxin that goes through your body. And so you're not even in good health, even if you do feel good, correct?
No, you're right. And, and here's why I look at it. This really pisses me off, but here's what we keep doing. What we're doing for Jay Campbell and Russ Scala's sanity. I just got to take you back when I was a paramedic on a really bad auto accident, dude. We got to walk by the people that are dying and go to the ones we can save, brother. Right. Or you know what? We could go crazy. Now, what you and I can do is that targeted marketing. Find the distribution channel or somebody like Brett Osborne, some other doctor that wants to pull the trigger with our skill set. And then all of a sudden, we, or look at the guy that did Bigger, Stronger, Faster. Netflix and those companies need new content, man. I think you could do something better than Bigger, Stronger, Faster.
Oh, a million times better.
Yeah, okay. So my point is, there's a lot of opportunities out there for developing really cool content, and the distribution channel is the new media. Just something to think about. Folks, if you or a loved one gets diagnosed with some type of illness, go to TRT Revolution, come to the Russ Scala YouTube channel. When you hang that phone up and you got bad news, there are options for you that we can help you with.
Right.
That's it.
Awesome. So let me just stay there then. So for somebody in California, somebody in New York, somebody in Seattle, because you're in Florida, how would it work for somebody in California to be treated by the Russ Scala Precision Institute?
Well, Scala Precision Health, you could go to my website, Scala Precision Health. People fly in all the time to meet my doctors and to meet me. We send test kits out all over the United States.
Okay.
We work with, high-level folks that run major companies that just run into a wall. And we do a lot of the stuff that you do, Jay. We just take it to another level,
You guys, is it, and we've talked about this before, so forgive me for asking, but do you guys because people always ask me this, this, is this all pretty much out of pocket, or do you have insurance subrogation opportunities?
Yeah, that's the only downside. We could run some of the testing through insurance, but it's only out of pocket and It's expensive. And this is one reason I started the Russ Scala YouTube channel, so regular folks can go on my YouTube channel and then go tune their doctor up.
Right.